Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And it's a fabulous Thursday morning for me, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. But Bonnie, welcome to the party.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. I'm excited.
We were talking before, and you had actually discovered me somewhere back in the archives, and you have had a lot of transitions in your world. So I want to dive into that a little bit later. But right now, can you kind of share a little bit about who Bonnie is and what you're doing to show up and helping people around the world?
So currently it's
today,
been quite a transition just from January. Yeah, right. That's what it feels like right now. I'm helping people feel more calm, feel serene, and learn how to manage anxiety. Really learn about the root causes of anxiety and their life based on what their experiences, and how to kind of undo some of that and learn to control what they can, which is their response to what's going on around. And then also learn how to let go of all of the things that they can't control to feel more calm. So.
Well, there's a lot of things that we can't control, that we have absolutely no control over whatsoever. And it really is challenging for a lot of people that feel like they need the control. So how do you navigate through this process of outside of your control versus having the feeling of control? Because really, ultimately, do we have control over anything?
So we can learn to control our responses to things. Most people, unfortunately, are out there reacting to everything. A lot of it is kind of an automatic response or reaction to what's going on or to what people say, because a lot of us have not been taught. I mean, this really is part of cognitive behavioral therapy. Most of us have not. Some of us haven't even heard of that, and most of us have not experienced what that means and how to use it in our own lives. So what I really do, I actually have a program called 21 Days to Calm Anxiety. And we start by identifying the triggers in people's lives and then breaking them into groups of what they feel they can control and what they feel like they can't control. And so then we tackle solutions for those things. Like, for example, running late for work every single day. That's something that's within your control, that if you back up a little bit and change your habits, change your morning and evening routines, you can get a grip on that and feel more calm in the morning as you're making your way to work. And then what we do is look at the list of things that we can't control, which is other people, situations. And I teach people how to reframe situations with other people and change their responses to other people. And thereby moving a lot of those things that are in the I can't control list over to the I can control list, because we're able to work through some solutions for how to stop, breathe, really think about what's important in the moment. I teach some breathing exercises and some visualization exercises to get ahead of the anxiety, because that's really important as well. Because unfortunately, once you're already in that anxious state, it's really hard to come down out of that. I have a long history of panic attacks myself, anxiety attacks. And so what I teach is preemptive. So learn this now while you're feeling calm. So that way you're not trying to figure out how to do the exercise when you're already in a heightened state of anxiety.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out. Russ Hedge, good morning. How are you doing? He's saying that we can control our responses. We live the life we choose. Absolutely. Yes. Life happens and then we choose. Yes. Be an actor, not a reactor. And good habits are essential. I think this is absolutely true. And And he says, great info. Thanks, Bonnie,
Oh,
for
thank
all you
you.
do. You're amazing. Thank you, Russ. Love you, man. The reality is, it's a fine line, Bonnie, between calm and panic. And as you go through, I'm really curious about how you, or what was the trigger of, or the event or the activity that you went through from being an anxious person to actually converting over to someone that teaches others how to not have so much anxiety in their life.
So I'm going to try to make this short. um, I have a long history myself of mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
Dates back to childhood. I had some childhood trauma, and I lived in. My mom was chronically ill, so our
Mm-hmm.
house was fairly chaotic. But I learned very young that, and I love my mom to death. I don't. I have no guilt or shame or regret or anything. I just want to put that out there, especially in case she watches this. She knows that I don't hold any kind of
Right.
ill feelings towards her. But I learned very young, and I was talking to my daughter about this last night, that mom was fragile, and we
Mm-hmm.
had to be very careful about what we said, what we did. We had to be quiet. She needed to rest, all of these different things. And so I kind of learned really young to be a people pleaser. And a big part of that was that my dad held me up on, and this is retroactively looking at this, I did not know growing up, but he held me on such a high pedestal. I was super smart. I was this, I was that anything I did was not quite good enough. Like if I came home with a B, it was kind of like, oh, well, what happened? It's like, what do you mean I got a B? um,
I'm
and he was,
shocked.
yeah, yeah, and he was also, and again, I don't hold any ill will against him either. He's passed on long time ago. But looking back at this as an adult, I was definitely taught that what I did determined how people felt about me. And I know this is kind of hard to dissect. Like I was responsible for how somebody else felt about me or loved me or whatever the case was. And so that grew and grew and grew. And then in high school, I was put on medication that I thought was for my stomach. And that started this long journey of a roller coaster of diagnoses. I had pages and pages of, OCD, bipolar, depression, anxiety, a list of stuff. And by 2017, well, actually by 2008, I was on a dozen different psych meds. I was approved for something called electroshock therapy because I was in really bad shape. I was having, and I don't know if I can say this on LinkedIn, but I was having ideations. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah.
Struggling with that on a regular basis, and declined the procedure. And by 2017, I was getting to a point where I was seeing my doctor every 3 months and complaining about the same stuff. And one day I walked in there and was like, what can I do about this? And I expected him to tweak or change another med. And he said to me, well, it could be this one medication that you've been on. I'd been taking it for 15 years, and I'm not mentioning it. I'm not medicine shaming by any means, but I told him I quit. I was like, I literally said to him, I'm effing done. I'm not doing this anymore. I had no idea what I was going to do. It wasn't like a conscious decision. It was like my spirit or something just blurted it out there in the office. And I went home and it was like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
So I titrated off all these different meds. And what was really interesting was when I made that decision, the universe started delivering to me people and YouTube videos and, methods like EFT tapping that I'd heard of, but not really paid too much attention.
Right.
And so going through this process the past 4 years, and I started interviewing in January after being on a TV show, and realized when people were asking about my story, they're like, well, how did you get from here to here? Because in the middle of that, I was paralyzed back in 2011. So it's been a really crazy health journey for me. And people are like,
yeah, by the way, I was paralyzed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But like,
no big deal.
Well, I'm 10 years removed from it now, and it could fill a book. So I try to fit some pieces in there, but to me, I was always in survival mode. And finally, one day, I was like, I don't want to just survive anymore. And again, it wasn't a conscious decision, but when I started interviewing back in January and telling my story and seeing people's reactions and the questions, I was like, wait a minute, I can do something with this. People need this information. How can I best serve others so that they don't have to go through a 25-year journey like I did, not knowing that there were other ways to manage anxiety besides just being medicated.
Yeah.
So I tried to make that short, but
yeah. No. And the reason I bring it up and the reason we want to talk about it is because it's important. It's an important subject because the thing that I really encourage people to consider all the time is you have a choice. You know, I wake up with gratitude. You know, not every day is do I feel like it. However, you have to choose that you have something to be grateful for. And I think that starts the momentum of what it is, because I can see things in one way, and we talked about this before we started. Oh, why me? Poor pitiful me. Let me sit here and feel sorry for myself. Or what is it that I have control over, that I can make a choice to do something productive and positive with this outcome? And
right.
and those two are completely different episodes, and they come out with a different way of looking at life. They come out with a different way of approaching a result. And I think it's important for people to understand and hear that other people have been taking this route, like yourself, where you've gone through tragic circumstances, getting paralyzed. You know, you also deal with a lot of chronic illness. And I know there's a lot of other people in the community here that deal with chronic illness. You know, I'm a caregiver. Mom has COPD. My sister's, got her challenges. And there's all of these things that we can do, and not panicking and not being a victim, I think, is the most important part. I want to give a shout out to a couple of people we got in the room here, Bonnie. So Gabe's in the house. We were on a live stream last night. Thank you, Gabe. And Elise is here. Gertrude, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Elise, thank you. I love that. From South Africa. Thank you so much. Russ says, Gertrude is here. Good morning. Gabe is going back and forth. The conversations are happening. Thanks again, Russ, for all you do. Love you, man. Thank you so much, Russ. Thanks for sharing your journey. Inspirational at so many levels. And that's why it's important that we share these stories, Bonnie. I just absolutely think, Marcia says, amazing journey for sure. Choices. Absolutely. So Howard comes back and says, one thing that I have learned is how many ingredients and chemicals that you may be consuming without realizing that you are impacting your physically and mentally too. They're in physics. So, and John Romano's in the house. Thank you so much, John, for joining in. So Bonnie, tell me this, you're still, managing chronic illness, correct?
Correct.
Mom has fibromyalgia, and I know that that's one thing that you have to work to control. So what are some things that are positive and productive in your day that you have control over, that you can actually do, that helps your chronic illness or dealing with your chronic illness?
So I actually just found out in August, the day after my 10-year anniversary of being paralyzed, that my fibromyalgia is gone.
Wow.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
thank you. So how I did that, one, I think with any of this stuff is consistency and patience. I think a lot of people feel like they should see instant results when they start something new. Um, and I was one of those people. I was very impatient in the beginning. Um, but I walk a lot. I pace my backyard a lot. I'm still so I'm high risk, obviously. And because of the Guillain-Barré, which is what paralyzed me, I can't, and I'm not getting into a political conversation, but I can't get a vaccination.
Mm-hmm.
So I've spent all of the last 20 months or so at home, except for maybe I think I went to the doctors and stuff a couple of times. But I pace a lot in my backyard to get my steps in. I drink protein every morning, a good bit of it, probably close to probably about 60 grams of protein every morning. That made a big difference. I take about 15 different supplements. The biggest ones that helped with the fibromyalgia would be some of the basics like magnesium, calcium, vitamin D. And then I added in, and I'm not recommending, like I'm not a doctor, so I just want to throw that out there, but do your research and look at these. These are all fairly safe. And fish oil made the biggest difference. And I take a high potency DHA, EPA formulated fish oil. And that nearly eliminated the brain fog that comes with fibromyalgia. I was able to hold a conversation, but I would walk away and forget, like, let alone what we talked about, but that we had even had a conversation. That's how bad my short-term memory had been. And now I obviously can hold a conversation when I'm running a business and managing children. And so those are some of the things. Some of the more, I guess, esoteric is EFT tapping. I have a fairly strong spiritual practice now. Gratitude, definitely. I have stuff, you can't see it, but it's up hanging up on my mirror. I have different affirmations that I repeat to myself regularly. And getting a mentor or a coach is huge. Find somebody who's been through what you're going through and has made it to the other side, and get them to help you work through it step by step. Everybody's healing journey looks different, but there are some key things that work fairly across the board, like getting exercise. I spend 30 minutes stretching every morning, sometimes twice a day. I do that. And all of those things really help with the mobility. And when you can get your mobility going, it helps alleviate a lot of those fibromyalgia symptoms, because unfortunately, a lot of them stem from being in pain and then not wanting to move, which just exacerbates the situation. So those are the things that I do. There's more, but those are the main things that I do in a routine. Like I do them every single day. So,
well, and the reason I bring it up is because I think it's important for people to hear that you don't have to be stuck. You don't have to stay where you are.
Absolutely.
You know, it's really important for us to understand that no matter where you are in life or your circumstance or everything else, don't be a victim to it. Don't allow yourself to, be in a pity party. Just take action and do something productive that's going to help you move forward. And that's the lesson over and over again. And I think it's important for understanding, some of the things that are unique to everybody else. It may not be your situation. And so you have to judge yourself by who you were yesterday, not who someone else was on Instagram or, whatever they happen to be. It's like, stop the comparison, because that's toxic. And so it's really important. So good for you. I really applaud you for the effort and the time and energy that you put in to healing yourself as much as anything, because it's critical.
Thank you. Yeah. And really what it came down to was I was 33, I think, when I got the Guillain-Barré syndrome. Yeah, that's right. I'm doing math here. And I still had 2/3 of my life left, at least. And math, no, yeah, like 2/3 of my life left. And it was kind of like, is this it? Is this all that I'm meant to do? Like, it is lay on, and I'm not shaming anybody, but for me, I was really lucky. So I got pregnant about a year after I was diagnosed with all of this stuff, or started getting diagnosed with all this stuff. And in my mind was like, I can't sit still. I need to move. I need to be healthy for the baby. I need to, like, he was my saving grace, because had I not gotten pregnant, and trust me, it wasn't a cakewalk being pregnant with all these chronic illnesses, but it was, I wasn't focused on me. And I now I know how important self-care is. But at that point in my mind, he was what it took for me to do better for myself, because I was now responsible for carrying another human being.
Right.
And it was I'm the only one at that point that can take care of him in that state. And laying around on the couch with the doctors not really knowing what was going on, I was like, this isn't going to work for me. I need to get up and move. I need to, not, I didn't want to put on a ton of extra weight. Like, I wanted to be super healthy for the baby.
Yeah.
And that, again, that made a really big difference. And that helped me pull myself out of that pity party, because I was definitely there for a while. Like, I'm not going to lie about it. And I really love how you were talking, how you said that about not staying stuck. So you can see, well, now you can see, get all this hair out of the way.
Yeah.
My Unbreakable shirt. I started something called the Unbreakable Campaign in 2019 for that reason, to help people get unstuck, to share video stories of people who had gone through trauma or chronic illness and had made it through, or were in the healing process, and could tell these stories so that people who were just starting and really didn't know what to do, or maybe felt like they didn't have any options, to give them somewhat of a roadmap, or at least an idea that there was light at the end of the tunnel. And we actually I had to put it on hold for my own health reasons, and we just brought it back. Somebody approached me after an interview and said, I want to bring you back your Unbreakable Campaign. And it's been rebranded as Unbreakable Stories. And you can find us all across social media. We run a 24-hour clubhouse room. And that's exactly what it is everybody just getting together, sharing their stories. You can order a t-shirt, make your video. I mean, it's a really cool project that now, working with a partner, is exponentially just kind of taking off. And it's so amazing to see that come to light, because that's all I ever wanted to do, was just help people from the time I was little in different capacities. Right.
Yeah.
But to be able to see this come to life and hear people saying, thank you for sharing so-and-so's story. That really helped me do this. Or thank you for putting this person on. It really helped me do that. And sometimes that's all it takes. It's just the idea, that little bit of hope.
Plant the seed, nurture the idea. I think we were talking before the show and realized that we had actually connected years ago, or at least something took place years ago, that, because I know the Unbreakable Campaign, I'm familiar with that. And so it's this thing that we've been going back and forth between, it's like, and finally we got to get you on the pirate broadcast now. So it's amazing that we're still out there helping people, producing results, bringing stories to the table. So what was the start of what was the very beginning of the Unbreakable Campaign?
So
the Unbreakable Stories.
Oh, I love this story. So in 2018, I went to my doctor. I had been having spine pain. I found out that the rheumatoid arthritis was in my spine. And I crumbled in her office, because my youngest kids, so I have a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And at that time, my two youngest were 5 and 2. They were little.
Yeah. And
I was like, I've already gone through paralyzation. I've gone through this. Like, I got through all this stuff. I'm like, this is not taking me down. And I had a vision for how the mom I wanted to be to my kids.
Yeah.
So I agreed to go back on medication, and I was taking something called, it was a biologic, which is an injectable. Mm-hmm. So anyways, long story short, I thought that this was going to save my life, and it was going to be great. And, all my symptoms were going to go away, because that's what they tell you on the labels. And it wrecked my life. So by January of 2019, I was still taking it, still feeling like I had the flu every 2 weeks. It was just, but I kept pushing forward, because I'm like, if this is going to save my spine, let me see, just keep trying to get it to work. And Evan Carmichael, I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah.
Okay, so he came to Pittsburgh, which is where I'm at. And I didn't like him at first. And I actually told him this a couple of months ago. So when I found out when he was coming here, I was like, I got to go see this guy and figure out what it is. Like, I'm one of those that leans in when something doesn't feel right. And people are like, that's kind of weird. If I didn't like a guy, I wouldn't pay to go see him. I'm like, this is just what I felt like I needed to do.
Yeah.
So he's just a humble, amazing human being. I'm tied with Evan now. He actually runs audio in our clubhouse room. my partner and I are in his Movement Makers program. Anyways, I went to see him. He was amazing. I started to read his book, Your One Word. And then I got the sickest I had been in a really long time and was stuck in the couch bed in the living room for like 3 weeks. And I just started writing, making all these plans. Like, when I feel better, I'm going to do this. When I feel better, I'm going to do that. So when I finally got through all of that, I was going to make t-shirts. So that's kind of what Posh Notions is I make branded apparel. And I was like, I want to make t-shirts for people to express their strengths, basically their one word. And very quickly decided that I didn't want to make lots of individual projects. And so I came up with Unbreakable. And that was the beginning of how the Unbreakable campaign got started. I asked Evan if he would make a video, and he made a video for us. And just kind of rolled with it. Like it was like, I'm going to make t-shirts, and it was like, I'm going to do this.
I remember that.
Just like
I remember
expanded.
that.
Do you?
Yeah. I think I actually recorded a video for it.
Did you?
I'll
have to look. My other LinkedIn account got shut down. I was working with a VA, and so now I have to rebuild my LinkedIn because for whatever reason I can't get back into my LinkedIn account. So I lost all like 5,000 connections that I had over there.
Oh no!
I'm gonna have to rebuild it. But
well, I was kind of curious because when I looked at your LinkedIn profile, it's like, we're connected, but we're not really. I don't recall. It's like, this doesn't make sense. And now it all comes back because it's like, we've been connected, and I recorded a video for Unbreakable, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Thank you.
So after writing on the couch, you came up with the one word, and it was Unbreakable. Yeah.
So my one word is spirit. Whether it's unbreakable spirit, high spirited, I can use that word in so many different ways. It really fits me as a human. But unbreakable really describes my journey of resilience. And it's just, so my quote is, you can't let life get in the way of living. And I really feel like there's a lot of stuff that gets thrown at us in life, or we attract into our lives, whatever your viewpoint on that is. For me, it's, I know I've attracted all this stuff into my life to learn different lessons. And you can't really build resilience or be unbreakable without having things try to break you.
Yeah.
And learning how to build that strength and how to overcome these different things. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but it's really where all the growth happens.
It's all the growth happens. The most devastating times in my life is when I've made the most progress in my personal growth.
Right.
Fortunately or unfortunately. And that's, I don't know, I think that's a lot of people's story if they really boil it down to the essence of who they are and how they got where they are today, is the challenges that took them to move into a new direction or make new choices. So,
yeah, I think as humans, a lot of us so our brains are wired to avoid challenge, to avoid fear, to avoid scary things, to avoid any kind of, anything that could lead to death. Basically, our brains are designed to help us survive, keep us alive, basically.
Yeah.
But because of us being higher beings and whatnot, a lot of us, we have those aspirations, that desire to succeed, this desire to do different things, but we are innately avoid pain, like you said, and change can be very painful. So unfortunately, a lot of people don't make the change until they're forced to go through something really painful and kind of have no option, no choice. It's either to succumb to it or overcome it. And so
I just appreciate you being here. Jenny Gold says, I agree. Becoming unbreakable can be difficult because of challenges. And it's really about choice. It goes back to choice, Bonnie. So I really appreciate the fact that you were able to join in, and I know that we had scheduled it, and we finally got to have you here, talk about these challenges, talk about the choices, and make a difference. So thank you. I really appreciate you and what you're doing, and look forward to future conversations.
Absolutely. So, thank you so much for having me, and thanks to everyone that joined in and was commenting and joining the conversation.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone so much for being here. I love you all, and I really appreciate everything that's going on around us in terms of the positive outcomes that we can produce with our time and effort, because you know what? Kindness is cool and smiles are free. So you enjoy the day. See you next time. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate